for joining me today. What I wanted to do with you guys is there are so many people who enroll in your Badass Therapy practice, or they're interested in enrolling and they're just not sure if it's going to be right for them. Maybe they haven't opened their practice yet, or they're brand new, or they've been in practice for a long time. There's so many different types of therapists who aren't really sure if this course is right for them. So the purpose of this call is to actually take two people who didn't have a practice before they enrolled and still went through it anyway, and just to learn a little bit more about your experience with it. So first, what I want to do is just have each of you introduce yourselves to everybody. So Lisa, let's start with you.
Okay, well, hi everyone. I'm Lisa Baker, and I am a marriage and family therapist in Dallas, Texas. And I specialize, my niche is trauma, mostly with, I'll take anybody from about 14 plus. Can't really do kids because it makes me too sad. I just can't do it. Yeah. But I don't know. What else do you need to know?
What's your website?
Oh, my website. Yes, it is. The short version is www.rcandc.com, which is really standing for Resilience Coaching and Counseling. So I do life coaching. I'm also a certified life coach, and I do, mental health therapy for couples, families, individuals.
Perfect. And so when you first enrolled in your Badass Therapy practice, where were you? I
was in graduate school, believe it or not, and in the middle of an internship and everything else. And I don't know if you really just want to get into it, but the reason that I picked this or your program was because I looked high and low on the internet. There was no courses in graduate school that had anything to do with how to build a private practice. No business, nothing. It was crazy. I was like, where is that course? That's
where do I learn how to actually do the thing I want to do?
Yeah. And and I don't think that a lot of therapists are really left-brained, financial people and all that. I feel like we're more towards, empathic and all this other stuff. Maybe I'm just generalizing because of me, but I did a lot of research. There was nothing out there that really was a comprehensive course. And I found this, and it was life-changing, and I'll go into it later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. And then Karina's here. So Karina, share a little bit about yourself and your practice.
So I am in Omaha, Nebraska, and I specialize in trauma, childhood attachment trauma, family trauma. I also have a background in neuroatypical presentation, so autism, ADHD, those sorts of things. And I like to skip over the teenage years. I love the kids and I can do the grown-ups. The teenage years get a little too snarky for me, and I can't be professional. So I stick to kids and families. Yeah.
Awesome. And do you have a website that you want to share?
My company is called Unity Youth and Family Services, and the website is unityYFS.com.
Awesome. Man, you guys both deal with some really heavy stuff. So Karina, where were you in the grand scheme of things when you first enrolled in your Badass Therapy practice?
I knew that I needed to get out of agency work. I felt like I was working for the devil. And so I knew that my eventual future was going to be private practice and working for myself, but I didn't know when.
You wanted it to be as soon as possible though, right?
Well, yeah. So that was like a love-hate relationship as far as thought process goes, because I don't like working with numbers. I don't want to do the business end of the thing. I want to work with people and not things. And so it took a lot of convincing and weird stars aligning for it to end up happening the way that it did, because that was a huge barrier for myself.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. So let me ask you guys a few questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Because I know every single time I've taken a cohort through this program, during launch week, people are just frantically trying to figure out, is this course right for me? And so I'll often get people who haven't started their practice yet. Maybe they're still in school like Lisa was. Maybe they're still working for a soul-sucking agency. And the goal is to go into private practice, but the timeline feels very nebulous, kind of like Karina. So one question that I had for you guys is, first of all, it can be really scary to invest in a program like this, especially when you don't have a caseload yet. So what was it about the program that led you to make that investment, even though you were probably both like, holy shit, that's a lot of money and I'm not really making anything, at least not from your private practices yet, because you weren't open. So what was it about the program that led you to even enroll? We'll start with Lisa.
Okay. So, for me, I think I mentioned earlier that, in grad school, there was really no courses. I mean, so we had no idea what we were doing. And after I did a ton of research, first of all, just the fact that the name BADASS is in the title, that in and of itself was like, wait a minute, I don't like that, I mean, because it seems like it's relatable to me anyway. I mean, so I didn't want to take a course that was like, and step one is to, I mean, so I feel like you make it very relatable, but I mean, like I said, I did a ton of research. I went on Abundance Practice, website. And I think that's actually how I found you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of us coaches in the sphere, like we all kind of support each other because even though we generally teach the same concepts, our brands are very different and we attract totally different people, as you saw. So
yeah. Absolutely. And I wanted something that was comprehensive and easy to understand because again, like Karina was saying, I mean, I don't have any business knowledge. I mean, I was in marketing way back in the day, but I mean, that doesn't mean that I know how to start a private practice.
Right.
And I needed something that was comprehensive. I didn't want to just start a practice and wing it and then
figure it out as you go.
Make even more costly mistakes along the way. And then when I found out that you cover everything from, finances to setting fees to creating websites and finding your niche and all that. So it just seemed like it was the most comprehensive thing that I could take. And, was it cheap? No, but is it worth its weight in gold? Every damn penny. I've already paid it back.
Yeah.
And this to me was, it was just, I mean, there's nothing else like it out here that I can see. So there you go.
Thank you. Sometimes I think to myself like, oh, stop. No, keep going.
Don't stop.
Don't stop. Just actually keep going a lot. Karina, what about for you? So like, yeah, this is a huge financial and time investment. I mean, you're talking 8 weeks of your life and a ton of money that you may not be making, definitely not from your agency. And you didn't even have your private practice really up and running. So what was it about the program that led you to make that investment?
Actually a couple of different things. Like the first thing I thought was like, wasn't even so much like a sticker shock. Cause I think of like the most simple things. We don't learn, like we have to learn how to tie our shoes and put our shoes on. We don't just pick up a bike and get on it. We don't get behind the wheel of a car without a coach being there. Somebody there be like, this is how you do it. And if I'm going to go so far as to put my name or my effort into building a brand, and cause this isn't just a job, like you have to take this seriously. And if I'm going to take the time and money to build it now, I need to do it now and do it right the first time. I'm not trying to like have a bunch of car accidents between now and when I learn how to drive,
Yeah, this wasn't just a hobby for you, it's like, no, this is my livelihood. I want to do it right.
Exactly. And then I also had a couple of colleagues that have taken your boot camp before and they like hated you. This horrible things were said about you. No, they like wildly successful. And
I was like, I hope they said at least that it worked, but maybe that I'm a kind of a bitch, but that's fine.
No, you're my people. So we all love you. But yeah, so hearing how great it was and how thriving their business, like every single one of them thriving businesses, no complaints. And then one of my colleagues that I worked with before I moved out of state was, she didn't do anything like that. And she literally spent the first 6 to 8 weeks and she lost every single penny she thought she was going to make for those first 2 months and how devastating that was for her. And I'm like, that's more money. Like your program is a fraction of what she lost in that 8 weeks. So why wouldn't I?
Wow. So I had a badass who went through the program right at the same exact stage as you guys. I should have had her come on, but she explained it to me in this really awesome way that I wanted to share too, just for anyone watching. I was like, so why did you enroll? Because you didn't even have a practice set up. Like you didn't even have a timeline. So what led you to enroll? Because you could have had to wait 3 more years before you even started. Now, granted, she didn't have to do that, but I was like, what led you to enroll? And she said, Laura, it's kind of like if I knew that I had to make a cross-country trip from New York to California and I didn't have access to a map or my phone. Well, I could probably figure out how to get there. It's not the most difficult thing in the entire world to get from New York to California. I can read like street signs. I can kind of get a gist, but I'm going to make a lot of wrong turns along the way. Like I may end up in Florida first, and then I'm like, shit. And then I go up north and I end up in Detroit. And it's like, I'm not, this is not a very easy way to get there, but eventually I would have made it. Right. And so what she said is taking your program allowed me to feel so confident going from my theoretical New York to California, having not only a straight route to take, but knowing which roads not to take or where the highest tolls are and to avoid those roads. Or here's the best place to eat lunch when you drive through Nevada. It's like, it made it so much more clear, and she didn't have to worry about all the noise that she hears everywhere else about, well, you should do this or you should do that. So I thought that was a pretty good metaphor. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like, I think what it does is it takes away the fear, because there's a lot of fear, you know, to put yourself out there and, you know, to spend the money and, you know, sign a lease. I mean, like all these things, you're like, shit, I'm tied now for a year, you know, for 12 months. What if I screw up? I mean, I'm really screwed here.
Right.
And I felt like when I did that, when I signed my lease, I didn't have like this, what I think I would have probably had I not had a roadmap. Like she said, you know, I mean, had I not had that roadmap, I would have been like heart palpitations, shooting pains. Oh my God, you know, but I really felt confident. And I had no clients, not one, when I signed my lease. Wow. And I just went ahead and did it because I felt like I had all the tools that I needed in my toolbox, thanks to you.
Wow. So imagine being able to build your practice and it's fun. Instead of just constantly being terrified that the phone's not going to ring. Yeah. So that kind of leads me into my next question. You sort of already answered it, Lisa, but how do you feel that your Badass Therapy practice has prepared you to open your practice and be confident as opposed to just so fearful?
So for me, my biggest fear was scarcity. And I still fight that, by the way, but I get bitchy Brenda out of my head.
We all
have her. But I just learned that if we operate with that mentality, that it's really going to color the approach to everything that we do, and it's going to hinder us in the process. So after I took the course, I like I said, I took the leap into private practice, but I felt confident because I had my niche. I knew who my ideal client was. I wasn't going to accept insurance, which was another big leap, you know, but I was like, nope, self-pay only. And, you know, of course I start my practice January 2020 and COVID hit. And
yay!
I'm 2/3 full. But the truth is that I don't want to be more than 2/3 full right now. I'm really at a good place because I have my finger in other pies and other things going on. And so I want to focus most of my time on my practice, but some of my time on other things. Which, you know, and honestly, I don't even have like SEO stuff on my website. I mean, like I really need to work on that. But like Laura always tells us to, you know, whole ass one thing, not half ass all of it. So that's something that's on the back burner, but I'm going to work on that within the next 2 months. But I mean, regardless of that, now when I love my clients, they show up, they're loyal. They're my ideal people. You know, we have lifetime access to the course, which is great because sometimes I forget something and I'm like, what was that about profit first? Oh shit. And I have to go back and look, which is great. So, I mean, all this plus for me, what helps too is to have a really good network of people, like through your Facebook groups and everything, where you can bounce ideas off of each other. That in and of itself is also, you know, invaluable because I've asked a million stupid questions in there, and there's always this big group of people who are willing to answer and help out. So it's not just a course; it's kind of like it is like a tribe, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it's a really close-knit community. And it's one thing when I tell people that, but I think it just comes across as like, clearly she's biased. She's the course creator. So of course she thinks that her, you know, community is the most engaged and the best out there. But I think it means a lot more to hear it from actual students rather than just me, you know, tooting my own horn. So Karina, for you, how do you feel that your Badass Therapy practice helped prepare you in a way that made you feel confident opening your doors?
Well, kind of like Lisa had said, is like having that, a lot of those answers that you don't get, not just because of grad school, but, you know, when you go into agency work, they don't give you all of that background stuff too about marketing or niching down. They just want you to be a butt in a seat and make the money. And so
billable hours, that's all that matters.
Yes, you are a number, the clients are numbers, let's get this rolling. And so
here's $20 for your hour.
Be grateful.
I'm starting to think Lisa and I worked for the same employer. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, I had, yes.
Unfortunately, a lot of agencies are soul sucking and have a lot of issues. Yeah.
Really never met one that wasn't, but that's just my life. But anyway, having those answers was really, really beneficial for me, because not only did I have the bitchy Brenda, but when I have those unanswered questions, that self-doubt was just like debilitating. And so going into this course and getting those answers, and even though I didn't have like my full confidence, I knew I could rely upon you, Laura. I could rely upon the other badasses, go through this course and just trust that process. It's almost like, you know, for the religious people, like giving it to God. I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it to the badasses and see what happens, because I don't know better and I can't pretend right now that I do, but I can rely upon the people that know better. And that was like my security blanket, my safety net.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people who are wanting to join this program and they don't even have a practice yet, it's almost like you don't know what you don't know. And that can be part of the fear too. Yeah. It's like, what if I start this and there's so much more that I didn't even realize, but now I have already signed a lease and I'm already kind of committed to this idea. Whereas taking the course, it sounds like for you guys, it took a lot of the guesswork out of it. So you could feel confident opening your doors and not feel like, oh God, I don't even know what I don't know.
Right. Well, and I just remember like looking into it, I knew that when I moved from agency to private practice, especially because of the community that I serve, not taking insurance really wasn't going to be a feasible option. So I'm like looking into all of those things. And if I met one more acronym that I didn't understand, my mind was going to explode. And so having somebody be like, what the hell does CAQH stand for? And why is that important to me? Was really like beneficial, because looking, you've got to have this and you got to have that. But if you want to call this person, you got to have that too. And they're going to ask for this. So you might want, and it was like more than just a shopping list. It was out of control.
Yeah. So another question, what is one major takeaway that you had as a result of going through the program? Just one.
For me, it was lose the scarcity mindset.
Yeah. What about for you, Karina?
The takeaway for me was that, like letting go of the idea that I had to hold everything to myself, or that I could only rely upon myself. Even though I came from agency work, it wasn't a very collaborative, cohesive, peace, love, kumbaya environment. So being able to open up and be like, okay, I need help, and be vulnerable to that was my biggest takeaway.
Yeah. What was one of your favorite things about the course?
Website development. Hands down. I mean, language that we use, the length of the paragraphs, the way that it's all laid out. And then I guess I'd add also the focus on the niche, because I really never thought about that. I thought, I'll just see whoever, like, I don't care. Bring everybody my way.
Whoever will come in and pay me.
Just pay me. I need to eat. But the truth is that I would have been miserable. And so, this way I it was scary, but it makes sense. And you said something, Karina, like trust the process. And that's true. I mean, like trust the process, because there's time you think there's not a snowball's chance in hell that I'm going to be able to do that. But if you do it, and Laura just kind of pushes you out there, all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, she does know what she's talking about.
Yeah, you guys are like little kids on the slide and you're like, I don't know, kind of hesitating. And I just take my foot and jam it on your ass and you fall down. And then you're like, oh, that was amazing. I want to do that again.
Yeah, was it scary?
Yeah, what is that? Thanks, may I have another?
Yes, please, sir, may I have another? Karina, what was one of your favorite things about the course?
Wine Live, is that wrong?
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. Can you educate them on what Wine Live is, because they may not get it?
Wine Live is Laura in this beautiful, luxurious robe with wine. That is all you need to know.
I love it.
Polka dots. Yeah, so every Thursday night, it's like, I feel like it's almost like being in college. You work really hard, and then Thursday nights when everyone parties. Yes. So during the course, like, okay, we work really hard Monday through Thursday. Thursday night, we relax a little bit. We let our hair down. We have fun. And then Friday is Winning Friday. So that's when we get to actually post any small or big win that we've had in our practices over the week. So I feel like having that structure is really helpful so that you don't feel like you're just grinding it out all week long without any sort of release. So that's what Wine Live is.
That's those added benefits to your program, Laura, is like, I felt like this wasn't just a professional investment. It was also a personal investment into those supportive things that you have had built in. Like, we laugh and joke and say it in jest, but like, it was so important because my husband's amazing and helps me with a lot of the business end of these things. He doesn't know what it's like to be a therapist in that room trying to do the shit that we do. And so to be able to come in and be like, Laura, and you'd be like, I got you.
Got you,
it's okay. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's really important to have that kind of support from other people who are either there or who have been there. Kind of that combination, you know?
So it's like you were professionally building me to be my own like practice and therapist, but you were also kind of my therapist for 8 weeks. So thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I've got big shoulders. So one question that's coming to my mind, just like, I'm just thinking, anyone watching this who is in the same place that you both were, they must be asking themselves, well, where are they now? Or how are they doing now? And I know Lisa kind of alluded to the health of her practice, but I'd love to hear from both of you, whatever you're willing to share. But it's like, you know, you started with nothing, you took the course. Now it's been at least several months, right?
Yeah.
So where are you now? Like, how would you describe your practice and the health of it?
I think my practice is in very good health, and I'm keeping it manageable for the time being. I know that there's more that I could be doing should I need to. I mean, if I really want to grow it, I know what to do. And so that is really helpful. But I also love the fact that I know what to do when I don't want it to grow. And I am okay where I am right now. And that's where I want it to be. So, and I never thought, by the way, I mean, the fact that here comes COVID, everyone's in quarantine and my business is still growing. I mean, like that has to, and it's, I mean, I know that it helps to be a good therapist, which I know I am, but you can be a great therapist and nobody knows about you.
Right.
And, you know, and nobody can find you or whatever. And so, I mean, and for me, just knowing that, you know, okay, obviously I'm a good therapist, but I also have this toolbox that, you know, all these things that I've learned that I can still go back to and whole ask some new things along the way as necessary. Then I just, that's where my practice is right now. And I am, you know, just incredibly happy with it.
You COVID proofed your practice.
I did.
That's going to be the title of this video.
There you go. COVID proof your practice.
Yeah, totally. What about for you, Karina? Where is your practice at now that you've been through the program and it's been a few months now?
So I will say that I moved from the agency to my private practice and I had about 14 or so people that came with me. So I didn't have to start from ground zero as far as getting clients, but
Thank
I will
goodness.
say this, right? I will say this, that I knew that I was going to get into private practice. Like I said, I got pushed out by my agency on March 11th. I opened my practice May 25th, and I'm now full.
Wow. Good job.
And I have a website and I have my niche. And so every single one of your processes, every single one of your steps, like put me on that path and let me get to, because I'm not taking just anybody. It's not like a come one, come all. These are the people that I want to see, the people that I am most successful with, that I can be the most beneficial to. And so it doesn't feel like work anymore.
Isn't that the dream?
That is the dream.
When we start our private practices, it's like we dream up what we want it to look like, and we want it to, in our mind, it's like, I want it to be fun. I want to love going to work. I want to work with the people who I do my best work with. I want to be able to support my family, live my dream life, take time off. I don't want to always have to be in this like growth stage. You know, like Lisa's saying, it's like, if I want to grow, I know how. And if I'm in a place where I feel good, I know how to do that. Like, this can be whatever you want it to be. Okay. So one more question for you ladies, and I'll let you go. There are going to be people watching this video who are exactly where you were not too long ago. And they're really trying to figure out, is this course going to work for me? I hope that what you all have shared has given them a lot more confidence, whether this is the right way to go or not. But what would you tell someone who's in the planning stages? They don't really have, maybe they don't even have their business name yet. They haven't signed a lease. They're very much in these like planning out stages of building their practice, and they're considering taking this course. What would you tell them? Or what would you tell yourself when you were there?
Okay, so I'll start because I've been going first every time, so I just tried to keep cohesive here, but
keep it going.
Keep it going. I would say that you have to try and find a way to pay for the course. Honestly, I don't know how you do it. If you have to pole dance, whatever you need to do, but find a way to pay for this course, because every day that you don't have the tools that, you know, these tools that Laura provides is another day that, you know, you could be in a practice of your dreams with your ideal clients, calling your own shots, like we were talking about, you know, saying if you have to spend money to make it kind of comes to mind. You know, and I did the math, and I'm terrible at math, but I can do pretty simple math. You know, I did the math, and it's already paid for itself, like I said earlier, even through the quarantine, through all this, you know, COVID mess and everything. And I just feel like I'm on very solid ground, and to have that is like, you know, the most important thing is to have a foundation. So you go to grad school, you have to have the foundation of undergrad. I mean, you know, so start a practice, you have to have grad school, but you also have to have a foundation for your, you know, to build your practice. So I mean, I would say that it's a no-brainer for me. And I mean, I had some extra money saved for something else, a really great handbag, but I decided this was more important. And so I was like, this is what I'm going to use this money for.
And how do you put a price on confidence? You know, how do you put a price on not having fear?
I mean, there's the peace of mind aspect of it too, not to mention that, I mean, we talked about how, you know, this is a tribe, but the truth is that it's also, I mean, these people are truly supportive. You get referrals from them. If you're in the dumps, I mean, we've had people on there say, you know, I'm feeling so down, I'm really nervous, I'm scared. And you get everybody who's like, you know, words of encouragement, call me, DM me, and we can discuss. I mean, so you feel very supported at all times, and you're very accessible too. I mean, you know, I know you're super busy, but I know that if I, you know, emailed you or said, I really need to talk to you, that you would pick up the phone and call and we'd talk, you know, so
right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I do that for absolutely everybody, you know, given that there's only a certain number of hours in the day, but if you have time available, I know that you'll do it. So
take it under my wing. I mean, there are even people who have become so close in the course that they like travel together for conferences. I don't know how that's going to work with COVID, but historically they've traveled together, they've met up. Like we have all kinds of badass meetups across the country. That's really fun as this group grows. So that's kind of like one of the added benefits. Karina, what would you
with Katie hopefully in February? So we'll see.
Yes, you are your bestie, Katie. Karina, what would you tell someone who's in that exact same spot that you were before you enrolled, really trying to figure out, is this going to be right for me? I'm still planning my practice. I don't even know when I'm going to open. Like, what would you tell that person?
That you shouldn't look at the investment in this program the same as you would like a new pair of shoes. Well, I've got other shoes or another handbag. Well, I mean, I could take this $10 handbag and get what I want out of it, but it's an investment. And so that means that you have to look at it differently. It's not a bill. Like people are really quick to push the button to get into simple practice and use that EHR because it's reliable and it makes your life easier. And there's like a no nonsense way about running your practice with that. So why wouldn't you also do this to get your business running and have the foundation so you can move forward and not have those stressors as you continue to move along?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you both for your time today and just for sharing your experiences and hopefully helping a few people who are in that exact same spot and they're just not really sure if this is the right course for them. I hope that you all and your journeys, and it seems like your journeys were both pretty different actually.
We're COVID sisters, but
we are.
Yeah, you'll never forget that, what it was like starting and growing your private practice in the middle of a global pandemic, huh?
I know.
So thank you both for your time today, and I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.